by the government on the heels of the NSAS protest may need to be reversed sooner rather than later in our collective best interest so that they do not trigger further protests. Among such policy actions is the freezing of the accounts of young Nigerians who reportedly sponsored the protests. While I admit that under our extant laws, banks may freeze an account upon an ex parte order granted to a law enforcement agency by a court of competent jurisdiction for the purpose of investigation, these provisions of our law should not be used to intimidate Nigerian youths simply because they engage in and promoted protests against the inactions of government.
Clearly said, he made a statement clearly that yes, the government can, secure the powers of freezing an account for the purpose of investigation. But we know that clearly the NSAS protest started peacefully, and then it was hijacked and it got out of hand. And I think it's very important for the government to also separate the two. That is to go after the criminals and then also engage the NSAS protesters, as we said, so that we find a solution to especially the 5-point complaints that they raise. It's a very delicate situation that should be managed properly so that we don't trample on the rights of the protesters, as Pastor said, but at the same time, again, we don't leave the victims without any hope of getting justice. So the government is in a very difficult situation, and I suggest that people like Pastor Bakari and other well-meaning Nigerians, their advice as to how to handle this situation is very important so that, as he rightly said, it doesn't frustrate or it leads to another protest because of the way it's being handled. So I think that is all I can say is that people, should be involved, great people should be involved in managing the situation. Place at Lekki after the protest. And, immediately that happened to the Senate went suspended plenary. So maybe it will come up in the next sitting. But as I said, should such thing come up, and especially now there is argument here and there, I think there is the need to investigate what actually happened to get to the root of the matter, get to the truth of the matter. There is now argument between the army and the Lagos State government, coupled with the fact that we don't have specific figures as to what happened, the number of lives lost or those that. So we'll wait until we get the report. But we as a committee intend to ask the military to give us what actually happened, to tell us what actually happened. And then if there is any other opinion different from that, we'll get to the roots of the matter. Where that is all I can say for now until the matter comes before the committee or the Senate. Involve in internal security, but the security challenges that we are facing in the country today that led to the drafting of military out of their barrack to take care of security challenges in almost 33 states. And that is because the police is overstretched. They don't have the number, they don't have the equipment, the intelligence is not there, otherwise all these things would have been avoided. I have said this several times, that the Nigerian army or armed forces, but in general, or even the security in this country, they are not on, the number is not enough, they are not well equipped, they are not well trained, and the population is growing. And with that, the number of the population It's mostly that of youth. We have over 60 or 70% of the youth. Most of them are unemployed, so they get frustrated. And therefore, if there is no intelligence and a Marshall Plan, to control this situation, it can get out of hand. This NSAS protest, as you can see, just spread like wildfire. So it should be a lesson to us, the leaders in this country, to do something. I've said it several times that in a country like ours, if we cannot make it peaceful for everybody to live comfortably, then we, the leaders, will not be comfortable. And as I said, that we have majority of the youths that are unemployed from a very poor background, and finding it very difficult to make a living. If a son of nobody cannot become anybody, then I doubt so much if there will be peace in the country. It is very important to take care of this, and you can only do that when there is security. There will be no law and order if the country is not secured. And how do you secure the country? You have to have the number of the security personnel that is needed. You have to give them the equipment, the tools, and the training. But in this country, you can agree with me, Sheung, that we are lagging behind in that. In fact, if you look at it, compared to even other countries just around us that are not as big, they are not as strong, they are not as powerful as our country, there's law and order in every country. Security and welfare of the citizens should be the priority. In fact, it's the main purpose of government. It's there in our constitution.
I'm coming because I know.
Instead of securing ourselves from them, I think we should be much, much closer to our electorates and the people that elected us. You have seen the aftermath of the NSAS when the hoodlums took over. We were the first target. We are the first, and that is because these people think that we have not done enough to protect their interests, and therefore they go after us. I think it's very, very important for politicians to be closer to the people they represent, so that at least their grievances can be heard, and whatever you can do, you try to do it. There is a big lesson to learn from what has happened. It is a frustration that has built up over years. You know that since the government took over in 1999, so many graduates have been turned out into the labor market without employment or even opportunities. And worst of it, when they struggle, they get a barricade of frustration, especially this idea that is going around now, that if you want to become somebody, or even if you want to get a job, you have to know somebody. Several times the youth come to me from my constituency and all over the country to say that they have applied for a job in a particular organization, but they can't get the job because they need to get a note or a word chipped in by a senator or House of Rep. And that's not how it's supposed to be. There is supposed to be a clear procedure that will allow anybody that has the prerequisite qualification to be. You don't have to know somebody. You don't have to be son of somebody before you get employment. These are some of the things that are happening out there that is frustrating the youth. And then you have had some of them, they say they don't have any life to live. They've graduated 4 or 5 years ago. They can't get a job, and they want to, do business or whatever small trade they are. They get frustrated by, securities and all that. So there is a need to do more to handle this situation that can be very, very explosive.
But Senator,
the most frustrating aspect of it is that there are some gaps there that were not necessarily, Here we are with the president that we have tried 3 times to get him elected. We didn't succeed. We tried the 4th time and we succeeded. And I know and I believe that truly the President Muhammad Buhari, is a genuine person that have the interests of a common man at heart. He has the integrity, and the competence. But unfortunately, when the government I've said it several times, some people come out in the government to insult me. The kleptocrats in the government are now forming the majority, or have formed the majority, and therefore betraying the laudable projects or policies that the president wants to implement. I can tell you that from the beginning, we came in with 3 main agenda. 1 is to secure the country, that is in security. 2 is to fight corruption, and 3 is to provide infrastructure. You cannot say that the president has not performed in these 3 areas. But the impact and then the implementation is the problem. And under normal circumstances, you don't expect the president to do that personally himself. He is supposed to get the able hands. And that is where the problem started. That's where we have the problem. I'll give you an example in the youths, a case of the youths. When we're campaigning, because we see this, number of youths, massive number of youths, and the president would always ask, what are we going to do with this? That was when the idea of Npower came on board. And from the first year, he approved 500 billion. And the monies were released for graduates to be employed, especially in teaching and other areas and all that. But if you hear the number and the impact, they are just not, it doesn't add up. You hardly see it on ground, and that's where the problem is. For the past 5 years, the president has been supporting, and then he came up with trader money, he came up with the AMCOM Borrowers Project, he came up recently with the Youth Investment Program of 75 billion, and then another additional 25 billion was set aside to pay attention to the youth requirement that will enable them to take off. But those that are charged with the responsibility of implementing this laudable project, approved by president, are not doing their job. You could see even during the COVID-19 pandemic, when there was lockdown, the president and the business community and non-governmental agencies came in and then gave the support. But what happened? They went up and locked these things in warehouse and various warehouses. And the people, went to ransack that place. All these things would have been avoided.
All right,
and,
Senator.
I can say that the president, initially, I remember in the 8th Senate, a colleague of mine, and I was favorably disposed to that there's a need to control. There's anything in this world that has no control can be, can be disastrous. So I'm not saying that the freedom of speech or expression should be muzzled, but then people should be held responsible for what they say or what they do, because in several cases, fake news, hate speeches, and all that is, and then even like some of these what do you call them, X movies and all that is on everywhere in Nigeria without control, so that you have children not accessing all sorts of information that that can destroy their future. So I feel that there's nothing wrong with having a social media bill to define what you say or how you say it, and then what are the consequences of speaking out against somebody. Like as a politician, Somebody like me, I had that bad experience before. People will come out and just because they want to run you down and say all sorts of things about you, which on the social media, and you have no way of controlling you, holding that person responsible. I think there is a gap on that. But it must go through the normal process. There must be public hearing. Hear out what is the opinion of the people and how it is. There's everything. There should be control in something. Even in the media, the news media channels, I hear sometimes people are being sanctioned or even for doing things that are not right. But at the same time, again, any society that has no freedom of expression or freedom of information also it's not going to be good for us because it will lead to another thing. But don't forget that the Freedom of Information Bill, for example, was enacted by the Nigerian Senate. So any bill that comes in will be looked at critically, but there should be a law that guides or controls the social media. It is in every country there is law guiding all ways of life. So I don't have any problem with that, and I think I support the fact that there should be a kind of law that controls or guides the way you express yourself on social media. It's very important. But at the same time,
Senator,
I don't subscribe to the idea of Muslim people. We are at war in this country, in the Northeast, and we are at war with criminals or bandits in the Northwest. We are also at war with with herdsmen that are attacking, and we have security challenges in the North Central as a result of tribal and religious conflicts that have overwhelmed the police, and the army needs to be drafted. And as you said, we don't even have the number. And when you don't have the number, and also you don't have the necessary equipment and arms to, carry out this responsibility, then it's as good as you don't have anything. In a country of over 200 million or thereabouts, and with a budget of 13 trillion, and you are budgeting 27 billion, a paltry 27 billion for the Nigerian army in a period of war, that does not show seriousness in any way. This 27 billion and the capital I'm talking about is supposed to be the money that they will use to buy ammunition, buy trucks, repair the fixed ones, buy kits the Nigerian army, and do everything that is capital related. Yes, when you look at the figure, the Nigerian army proposed, for example, for their personnel operations, they proposed 567 billion. And in the appropriation that is submitted before the National Assembly now, they proposed 461 billion. That means there's a shortfall of 106 billion. Remember, these are personnel costs. When you send people out in 33 states operating, you have to pay them their allowances, you have to pay them, you have to feed them, you have to buy fuel and all that. Those are operational costs. And their overhead is 21 billion. Hey, that one, yes, they now, in the system of their the so-called envelope, have approved or presented to the National Assembly 20 billion. But then, let me take you to what happened in 2020. The capital budget allocated to the Nigerian army was 34 billion. But out of that, only half of it was released, or near half, or just slightly above that. Even their personnel cost, that is 20 billion, only 11 billion was released to them. And so also is the personnel. The personnel last year was 408 billion, but only 300 billion was released to them. And when you send somebody out there to fight a war and you don't pay him his dues, you can understand the frustration. That's why sometimes so many things, unfortunate things happen, very embarrassing things. But then the problem, the main problem is that army don't complain. They can't complain. They are not politicians. And that's what I'm doing. I go see what they are doing as chairman of the committee and with my committee members, and then speak out. because the security is number one. In a budget of 13 trillion, in a period of war, and with archaic equipment and ammunitions, and you are budgeting 27 billion. I mean, this is not it. Yes, there is a budget. The president normally provides 100 billion for Operation Lafia Dole. That amount is in the budget. But they don't release it regularly. And as I told you, if you do a common arithmetic, whereby you have over 30,000 troops in the theater, and each soldier is entitled to a daily allowance of 2,000 naira. You multiply 2,000 naira by 30,000. You see the amount you get there is about 70 million. And you multiply that per week, then you get the number. Take it to a year. You know that that 100 billion is not a big thing. And let me say again that even the poor countries around us, the total budget of the Nigerian Armed Forces, if you convert it into dollars by my calculation, is about $1.3 billion. In an army, with our number, the number is another thing. We have less than 150,000 armed forces on ground, including the soldiers. They are not up to 200,000. And then you have this vast land of the country. So if we want to end this war quickly, we must equip the Nigerian Army. We must equip the Nigerian Air Force. We must equip the Nigerian Navy. As it is now, they are scavenging around, trying to bring back some of the equipments that they bought, and because there was relative peace, they were not used, they are not serviceable, and in their desperateness, the Chief of Army Staff recently involved the Deacon to start, producing their own MRAP. And, this is a locally made something because it did not go through test of time and all that. It doesn't add up. You find soldiers on the field rationing ammunition. And the insurgents come with letters. As I said it before, they seized AK-49 from some of the bandits and insurgents, while our soldiers are still battling with, AK-47. And some of them even are old, and because they have been procured for long. So we need to say it as it is. We need to equip, we need to provide what the Nigerian Army wants.
Right.
Then give them a timeline.
All right.
And then say, if you don't get this to the end by so period, then you take whatever measure. Then commit to police too. We don't have the number of the police. If to say we have enough police, drafting the army into the NSAS wouldn't even come up. I was expecting that, first of all, mobile police or anti-protest police would be the first to be drafted, use water cannons, use tear gas, before you end up using maybe at most rubber bullets. That is what is being done. But if you go, the Nigerian police too don't have these things on ground. So it is very important for us to stand up and address the security challenge. If there is no security, there will be no law and there will be no order. And if there will be no law and order, that means there will be no peace. If there is no peace, it means everybody will not sleep well. That is what is happening now. If you think that we are at the top there, you take care of yourself.
Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time or first day of coming across my YouTube channel or seeing my face, you are highly welcome. Herzlich willkommen zu meinem Kanal. My name is Linda Chukwuezi. It comes as Miguel. That red button that says subscribe, and you turn on the notification bell so that you'll be able to get information on notifications.
Bis zum nächsten Video und einen schönen Tag. Tschüss.
Tschüss. Bis man. Subscribe to Linda's TV show. What are you waiting for? Click on that red button that says subscribe. You turn on the notification bell so that you'll be getting more updates from me. Leave your comments down below and share this video with your friends, families, and colleagues until we meet again in my next video. Bye bye.